Well, good evening, everyone. You're going to see some differences on the charts immediately. So let me go through the trading first, and then I'll get into the change I made and how you can make something similar as well before I make this next software release. You can get pretty close, but not exactly. Um, all right, so this morning started out as another really low volume day. Decided to just go ahead and go for 1 point. And on these low volume days, follow through is kind of difficult. And that was one of my problems today, as well as my tendency for some aggression occasionally, and that's what we're going to be addressing. So here's the open, and it was a pretty low volume day. First few trades were fine. Right here, we're breaking up at everything. So there's a good trade. Number one, here's breaking back through the EMA again. There's good trade number two. This one was maybe a little bit aggressive. Let me see. Yeah, this one. Oh yeah, because I was filled in here, right? So that's good trade number three. And that one was a little bit questionable. These two are breaking nicely, going with the Ultraflex. This one was a little bit more questionable, and I got out prior to the 2x200 being hit. But as you can see, I pushed it a little bit because the Ultraflex was coming down. Went short here, right? Coming back down through the EMA, aligned with the flexes. Everything is good there. So I'm up 4 points. A pretty easy 4 points. And next we'll get into this trade and why I have made the EMA band solid again. And I was just looking at this, and it's breaking back down through yesterday's close, right? So and this is really too much aggression. It got within a couple of ticks, or maybe even one tick of filling my 1 point target, but as you can see, it was kind of going into the Globex low, and it didn't even quite hit it. Um, so I added to it here, right? Because at least on the big picture, right? Slow flex and fast flex were still coming down, and it was kind of stopping at the pivot point a little bit further down. It would have got me out. Did the same thing. All right, now we're at the EMA. Got a couple of down bars, and now I tried it again. So now I've got three, um, and needed it to come down a little bit more. And then this happened. This is weird, and I still don't know what this was. But I mean, this is a 5 second bar, and it just rips through everything. And I had moved my stop when I added to it. So I mean, I'm kind of stuck here, and what this was, I have no idea. Pretty strange. I mean, was it just the fact it was a relatively low volume day? I'm not sure, but it sure did make me, stick. And then so I was still short, came back here, right, and then it was kind of coming back up. And since I didn't have any idea what this was, this of course made me nervous, and so then I reversed somewhere right around in here. And then so now I'm long, right, and it's kind of I needed to go up much further, and it didn't do that. So just not knowing what the market was doing, I basically gave up on the trade. So I just hit close, and so I had a loss, from the short going to short position going long, and then I'm long, and I had the loss go to short. So not and I thought four. Clearly, I lost more than four all the way back down. I didn't completely give up. I wasn't really expecting to get that money back during the day, but I made a trade here, and it was okay. Everything else was pretty okay, even though I maybe took another couple of trades that was a little bit too aggressive. I'll talk about that in a bit when we come back around. Took another trade here. Probably was a little bit late on this one. All right, but took another trade there. That one worked just fine. And let's see, took a trade here, and here was another one that I was a little bit too aggressive on. Took a trade here, right? It's coming from yesterday's close, breaking back down through the EMA, but it's also coming into the flexes. So we're not in very good alignment, right? So I go short here, even added one here as well, but it just wasn't ready to go. So I had to reverse here and then added to it, and then I was out up in here. So that one didn't hurt, but it's all again about this aggressive entry, something that we want to avoid. I think I've got another few trades here. Oh, this one was also trading into a double top. So it was kind of on the long side, right? But it was kind of breaking out, maybe too aggressive, because it's going into the 3-minute moving average and the 5-minute moving average. So breaking back down, I had to reverse here and added to it here and here, and then out down here with profit. But this is probably too aggressive. It wasn't necessarily clear. And I spent a lot of the morning since then thinking about aggression. I think I have another couple of trades. I know I do somewhere. I was thinking about aggression during this particular time. Oh yeah, here's a couple. I think this is a couple more long trades. So we had broken into the fast zone, kind of coming back through the EMA. This one is still a little bit questionable, right? It's in the fast zone. It could have stopped, but I got a good enough entry that exited. This one is better, right? Breaking out of the fast zone and good alignment with all flexes. So that one was fine. So that's my last trade. So it ended up being a losing day, and of course on losing days I'm mad at myself because usually it's a mistake of some form, and usually it's because I'm too aggressive and not waiting for perfect alignment. So here, so let's first talk about the indicator. The solid color now is just the EMA band, right? So it's the EMA band. To change this, let me show you what to do. Then you'd hit format indicators. I'm using 1.8. You guys still have 1.7, but I'll probably get this out relatively soon now, so you can see it a little bit better. Talked about that earlier. So hit format, and then you let me bring the window up, right? So you go to style, and towards the bottom, it's the EMA minute up and down band, and just come over here and change the weight. You can change it to anything you want. If you change it to the biggest weighting as I have, then you're going to get it to be solid, right? So that will help, hopefully, my level of aggression as it comes down. So as you can see here, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, sometimes it does go through, but as you can see, it gets into these EMA bands and or close, and especially in this low volume kind of days, then it just gives up. Now this is a pretty big down move here right after 7 o'clock on some news, so I got away with this one. But just look at this band, and you'll see that you really should, if it's in that band or kind of going into that band, you should really be thinking about not trading in that direction, because you're counting on a follow through. It may not work, and you may have to add to it to improve the position, which increases your risk. So even as to go through, and the day ended up pretty weird after Powell began speaking. But so let me go back from the beginning and talk a little bit about what I discussed with myself quite a bit all day long. Okay, and I kind of mentioned it today as well. And really, the best trades, and we all know this, excuse me, because I've said it 1,000 times, and if I could just get it into my head. And I mean, and today was a losing day, but I don't like losing days, so maybe I can, you know, hopefully come closer to eliminate them by doing this, and that is only taking the first push entries. All right, this was a first push entry. Then it kind of got back to neutral, but everything is aligned, right? So this would be a first push entry. This is not. Even though I got away with it, that would be counting on kind of a second push. This is a first push entry. So basically, first push is everything in alignment, right? Breaking above and or below the EMA. And when I say everything in alignment, basically the EMA and the flexes. All right, so let me kind of go through there. So that would be 1, 2, 3 easy trades, right? And then we've got some separation through here, right? Pretty big separation, so probably best just to stay out of that. You could maybe say, let's see, this was a little bit after some 6:45 news, so let's just kind of call that and say we're gonna wait to be more conservative. This would be a first push, right after 7 o'clock news. Sometimes that's a little bit dangerous, but at least it wasn't scatterbrained like it does during major news. That would be I may have lost count. That might be like 4. Right, here's one that's pretty good. That would be 5. Right, here's one pretty good to the downside. That would be 6. Right, so I'm just kind of counting if we just take the most conservative trades here and just forget about everything else. I'm just really going to have to talk to my finger about this. This is not quite everything is quite as aligned, right? I mean, slow flex is still coming down, and we are pulling away from the minute average, right? So this one is not bad. But it is going with the slow direction move, got volume. So I'm not going to count that one, right? But that one is not bad in my opinion. Um, and so, and the my problem is I'm usually kind of done by this time frame because maybe I have taken some aggressive trades. Maybe I have added to it. But I'm just kind of going on the mantra of if I wait for the most conservative trades, even on a pretty lousy trading day like today, right, everything in alignment, then it's pretty good. There's another one that's 7, right, 7 in an hour, right. Well, this is kind of pushing a little bit. Slow flex hasn't turned yet, but it's really kind of going somewhere, right. I'm going to go ahead and because of the steepness, I'm going to go ahead and count that. So that would be 8. I'm ignoring everything here, right? Little congestion here. Gonna wait on that one, even though it might have probably would have filled for one point. But I mean, fast flex is a little bit non-aligned. And then after 8 o'clock, sometimes things get a little bit more slow. You have to kind of be more patient, but usually 1 or 2 will materialize. Like here's one stepping through, so that one would have been okay. That's what 8. I'm not keeping. I should have written it down. That's about 8, which is more than we need, right? And then 8:30 is coming in. Yeah, this is kind of going into some things. This one doesn't look too bad, right? So it'd be, call it 9ish. Even within 8:30. So I'm convincing myself, and this one, yeah, this one is kind of going into the minute average, going fast zone. So I'm not going to count that one. So still like 9ish, and then sometimes you get a couple in the 9 o'clock hour too, or going in. See, here's 9 o'clock. Right, so it has been failing up in this range, right? So you may want to stay away from that. Even if you did kind of go, well, it's just kind of breaking out. This might be this is kind of ended up being a false breakout. So even if you did, and if you got faked out here, you reverse here, then you could have gotten your points back and call it 10, and then you just have to wait. This is a fairly good suggestion here. That would have been 11. Fairly good congestion here. That would have been 12. And so now it's kind of pushing because well, it's still an hour before Powell is going to be speaking. He is speaking at 10:30. This is starting to get a little bit close to the EMA zone. But we're already what 11 1-point trades, right? 11 1-point trades, and so if we're going for 1.5 points, haven't made that decision yet, but on normal volume days, right? Light volume days, I still kind of like the 1-point trades. Here's another one, kind of, it has enough room to take a point there. Get out. So what I'm convincing myself of, and hopefully you guys, I know some of you are even already better at this than I am. There are enough trades that you could take the most conservative first push. The most conservative first push. Maybe we trade a little bit longer. I mean, meaning that a lot of times I'm done by just shortly after 7. I don't have to be, but we can wait for the most conservative trades, and maybe trade active until we get our profit target or 8:30. We won't take as many trades after 7:30. We'll make it look really, really good. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. This taking first push, and clearly I took this one, right, and just gotta, like, after that you have to let it go, unless it really kind of pulls back into the EMA area, right? That's sometimes a possibility. I mean, sometimes if this had pulled back into, well, I mean, you gotta give it some time. This is a pretty fast push, right? And if it pulled back into the EMA, right, unless it kind of went sideways for a little bit, then it's going to be under Ultraflex, right? But then if it came down hard, then maybe. But the most conservative one is going to be first push. I just need to get I need to convince my finger that it's not all fun and games if you make a mistake. Clearly, that one is a mistake, right? And it was the entry was a mistake, and this was just the market can do crazy things. I mean, nobody can control that. So the market can do crazy things, but this, right? This we just have to. I just have to control. Right? We're all responsible for hitting the buttons when we think we're comfortable. But so I've changed this, and I'm going to try to change my kind of like my trading mantra as well into taking first pushes. We really don't need that many points. I mean, I kind of have to offset some of these losing days every now and then. But we really don't have to have that many points to do extremely well in the business. And if we just eliminate some of the bad days, and I'm going to do that, I have to be committed to doing that, then we'll be more consistent, right? We'll be more consistent, and we'll feel better about it, and won't have these bad days that I have to beat myself up on. All right, so that's kind of the lessons learned again today. And prior to this, I was willing to kind of go 2 pushes, but sometimes that 2 pushes turns into waiting either too long, right, or which is what this was. I just saw this one. So here's the first one. That's good. Right, so I got in here, I was already out, right? But here's an example of it coming back pretty soon to the EMA before it had traveled too far, and then big down bars, right? So that, so that's 1, and this is kind of a 2, right? The 2, the second push that happens prior to it going really like above the Ultraflex and getting into more of a neutral kind of category is much better. So there's a possibility that sometimes a couple of trades can happen relatively quickly. I rarely do that. I mean, I rarely do that. I probably maybe should, right? I mean, like for instance here, right? You know, got that trade, one down bar, then right back up, right? Is another example, right? So sometimes those things happen. I guess I first am going to try to convince myself just to take one push, maybe have to trade a little bit longer into the morning, be paying attention a little bit longer into the morning, and still be able to get points, but only taking a limited number of, well, I'm only taking the good trades, right? So concentration will be a factor in only taking first pushes. All right, so I hope that helps. I've talked myself through it a lot today, and so hopefully, and it's kind of in an important time of year as well. One, the volume has been really low, and we're kind of coming into the holiday season as well. December can start to get slow, especially the second half of December. So we'll see how that is going to work. All right. So anyway, have a great evening. I hope you can watch this pretty soon. I will talk about it tomorrow morning. And anyway, we'll see you then.